you ready? Come on, you can do better than that. We're ready. Are you ready? Talk about school avoidance. So, how many of you were here at the presentation before that I did? I might do 1 or 2 slides as a refresher or to go back, so please excuse me. You can reignite your attention span like 2 slides in. But, so I'm Jayne Demsky. I am the founder of School Avoidance Alliance. It's an organization I founded about 10 years ago to help educate families and schools on school avoidance. What do insects and gift cards have? Oh, can you hear me? What do insects and gift cards have in common? What? That's true. Anything else? Expiration date. Expiration date. If you stamp on it, I guess. Anything else?
You can't ever find out when.
Oh my God, I got the gift card. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking they have in common is that school districts are in such a jam trying to get kids back to school that they are giving out gift cards for attendance and teachers are eating bugs. It's hard to even say that. I know, it's like taken from the book of Survivor. No, what's the show? Not Survivor, something before, like a TV show where they do gruesome things, but thank you, Fear Factor. Yeah, that's it. So what's great about that is that it's awesome that the school realizes this is a problem. They're trying to help engage and get the kids back. The problem is it doesn't really work because kids who are having an emotional breakdown or difficulty attending school for a emotional disorder or learning difference or other issues that we'll talk about in a second, the thought of getting a gift card is not more enticing than getting them to face their greatest fear. It just is not going to happen. So the kids who are getting gift cards and seeing the insects being eaten are not the kids who have attendance problems. This cut off a little bit, but thank you for, did anyone answer this poll question? What words comes to mind when you think about your experience working to get students back to school? Anyone fill this out? Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. This is really helpful information. Unfortunately, the app cut off a lot of your answers. I have in my pocket. But little support, under-resourced, equal rights. Is anyone here who said that? Do you mean equal rights for the students, the diverse, or equal rights education? What do you guys think? Encourage. Oh, they're encouraged. That's awesome. I love that. What a go-to attitude. Patience. Yeah, it takes patience. Values. I think rewards. And then something about funding. Yeah, funding is a problem. This is the other question. What are the biggest barriers that you see about getting kids back to school and being bullied? Yes, that is a huge problem. And then the resolution to that has to be handled correctly. Engagement. That's one of the biggest things that we're going to take out of this today. So you can all leave now. But that is, but that is one of the underlying messages here. Social anxiety, yes, that's a huge problem. Kids deal with that. No investment. I don't know if it means no investment of the parent, the child, buy-in, or the school district. But these are all great answers. Thank you. School avoidance, fact refresher. If you weren't here, school avoidance is when a child has severe emotional distress about going to school. And it's not just the, I don't want to go to school today. It's severe where the child looks like they're going to die if they leave that bedroom or get them out of bed. And they might be hiding and crying and they have meltdowns every morning or any time that they are so distressed. If you see it or hear about it, you will know about it. And that differs from truancy, where truancy is not motivated by it's motivated supposedly by positive rewards and not necessarily because of emotional or learning difference or a negative thing. And the differences between truancy and school avoidance are also that truancy is supposedly concealed that the parents don't know. Do you guys feel that there are kids who are dealing with truancy where the parents do know about it?
Yes.
Right, okay. So yeah, so the data and all the information needs to be updated to reflect what's going on these days. But in school avoidance, the parents do know where the kids are, and they're usually hiding in their bedroom, and they're desperate to get them out of the house. It usually is associated with mental health issues, a lot of anxiety disorders, OCD, PTSD, social anxiety, general anxiety, school-related fears, huge, which has not got enough credence over the years, and the research is starting to show a lot of it has to do with school climate. It's not just underlying issues within the child and the family. Performance anxiety, the culture of performance, separation anxiety, and I said this in the last presentation, but kids, if they weren't depressed before, after they are stuck at home because of their emotional situation or their breakdown, they will become depressed from all the isolation and feeling like, what the hell is wrong with me? I cannot do what my peers are doing, what my parents want me to do. So, what do you think this human represents? A boy? Okay. Women wear pants too, I'm sure. Yes. Anyone? That is you. Because it takes someone to speak up, to champion, to care enough about the child, which from being here yesterday and today, people I've met and spoken to the presentations, you guys care. So thank you. It takes someone to take the initiative. We can't always assume that someone else is going to do it. And hopefully, with school avoidance, you are going to learn a lot and understand what you can do, because you can make a difference. Most important factors for improved outcomes for getting kids back to school. Research always shows us. Are you looking for the thumb drive? Yeah. Research in real life shows us early interventions, parent school collaboration. Do you guys hear the word early intervention all the time? Are you sick of hearing it? It's lost its meaning. It's become ubiquitous. It's lost, what does it mean? It means a lot, but we hear it all the time. Easy to say, hard to achieve. Hard to achieve because if we are not educated on school avoidance, we've never heard about it, we don't know first-line treatments or what we should be doing to help these kids. Signs are missed, and it's been going on for a long time, and then it's harder. Once it becomes entrenched, obviously, every day that the kid is home and isolated away from school, peers, the world, it becomes harder and harder. And we talk about this all the time with parents, for school avoidance, for the school district, when they're trying to help kids, days go by quick. You have cases, school flies by, there's so much on your agenda, caseworkers, all of you, appointments. But for families with kids with school avoidance, the clock ticks so slowly. Your child is suffering. You can't do anything about it. You don't know what to do, and time is ticking and ticking, and they're still stuck, and no matter what you do, nothing is helping. It is a horrible feeling, and that's why we say to schools, please just, get things going, move along on the process. We can't wait until, 10 days here, 20 days here to reconvene. We need to get on it now. Parent-school collaboration, another thing, so easy to say. And I think probably everyone said, of course we're collaborating with families, because usually educators and mental health professionals in schools, they understand, they want to help parents. They are there to collaborate. But if they don't understand the problem, if they don't understand the parent's feeling or the child, it's hard to have a collaboration. And there's a lot of blame game going on. It's because the parents aren't doing their part. Parents aren't trying. And then the family is like, well, the school's not helping me. They're not giving me the accommodations. They don't get it. We got to stop blaming and realize that this is a predicament and a problem with our kids, so we all need to work together. Let's stop blaming and figure out the root cause and figure out how to make this work and help this child. Considerations for early interventions, professional development, as we say, because we have to be aware. And it has to start in the schools, because that is where the problem is originating. So people on the front lines should be educated, school counselors. A lot of the times the school district will say, problem, go to the school counselor. So it might show up first as homework problems, academic issues, not being able to do presentations, falling behind in one class, 2 classes. But the academic problem is going to lead to school avoidance if it's not addressed. Behavioral problems. This is very interesting. When I first started doing this, I would hear people talk and they say, well, is this cognitive or is it behavioral? And so I called a doctor from Columbia University and then I said, well, is it cognitive or behavioral? This problem that kids are having in school, well, I said it's both. Because cognitive are thoughts and feelings lead to behavior. Good behavior and bad behavior. But the word behavioral always has a negative connotation. We all have behavior, and it's always, our behavior is caused by thoughts and feelings, and that's the basis of cognitive behavior. We all have it. Professional development empowers people, because if you have new knowledge, and again, when I'm speaking to schools, if they don't know how to help these kids, they got into this to help kids and they don't know what to do. They feel helpless. They're being trained and do whatever they can. And someone wrote like a hamster wheel. It's like, you keep knocking your head against the wall and nothing is changing. So we need to educate everyone in the front lines. And we want to make it easy. So I said in the other presentation that school avoidance, we need to be aware of it. So parents need to know that it's something to exist, so they can watch out for the signs. They need to know who to call at school. They need to know that someone in school cares and what they can do about it. And just having an email and a phone number on a website and your picture, I love that. When I see a form that says fill out this form to get this person to respond to you, it's like it's going into oblivion. Like, who is that really going to answer me? Are they going to answer in 2 days, 3 days? So something so simple as being accessible, in the school, and even the phone systems. I call schools all the time, and if I can't get anyone to answer the phone, if I don't have an extension number, I'm dead in the water. So again, I know schools are overwhelmed. There are so many problems and priorities, and we all need money to make these things happen and improve, but that is a big, simple things like that. Parent-school relationships, we just went over that. We want to not judge each other and we need to work together. Why re-examining school avoidance and chronic absenteeism in class? Who asked me about that? How do we get buy-in from schools? Someone did ask me that. And that is really important. Again, there are so many priorities right now. Mental health crisis, academic issues. There's not enough funding for everything. But what I say to schools is when you look at your absenteeism and re-examine what's going on, why kids aren't going to school, you are addressing mental health, physical health of your students and your families, you and your staff, because how draining and discouraging it is that when you can't help someone you want to help, and you're losing kids because they're not coming to school. They're losing money from federal, state, local funding for the kids. And for the morale, it's just so important for the morale. So we need to empower each other and work together. And also, school climate, as we keep mentioning, or I keep mentioning, is huge, and it's going to make the school reevaluate what's going on in the school district. Are we doing something that's not inviting to the kids? What can we do to make them feel safe here? Getting internal buy-in. One of the things I hear an obstacle is that it seems overwhelming, the challenge, because it does take a village, it takes a lot of people, but I try to say to school districts, when kids are isolated, they are at jeopardy for hurting themselves, hurting others, and leaving society and breaking down a whole family unit. And it seems overwhelming when we want to try to make change. But with school avoidance, there are certain small incremental things you can do. Like I speak to school districts, and something that they're doing is some school districts are addressing and changing the tone of their attendance letters. So it is not threatening truancy. It's more of like, we understand there are issues going on, we want to help you. Let us come in. No, nothing threatening. Not Johnny was absent, 20 days, and we're going to send you to jail and you're going to pay a $500 fine. I have a parent in our peer-to-peer support group that we do, and she said, you know what? If I went to jail and paid $500 and my kid would get back to school, I would do it in a heartbeat. Send me to jail. I'll pay you $500. Oh, and I say to schools, you're already doing things right. So of course you're doing things right. Improving on them and fixing some things where there are holes. Oh, and the incremental changes will lead to bigger long-term changes. So before, in the research, it was always looking at the parent and kid. Now the research is skewed more towards looking at school climate and school factor. That is really important for schools, kids obviously to feel positive engagement. Other barriers that kids discuss, teacher relationships, size of the school. I think I had this in another presentation. Sorry, it's a duplicate. I thought it was a different slide. And the school leaders need to understand the school where this is real. These are the characteristics in the school setting which are associated with school refusal. Classroom situation, teacher support, fear of the teacher. This happens a lot. And this is something that's come up from the parents in our peer support group, and I realized for my son, that some of the embedded problems of fear of school came from a toxic teacher relationship. I heard recently of one in kindergarten where a child was not getting stars every week for achieving some sort of behavior. I forgot what it was. And he was the only kid in the class who never got a star. And the last day of class, the teacher said, Johnny, are you going to get your star today? Are you going to be able to be like the other kids? And he didn't. And the kid is now in 8th grade, and she just remembered that wow, what a message to send to a kid that you are not good enough at an early age. Of course, all educators aren't bad. In every profession, there's bad apples. There are a lot of great educators, and then my son also, I realized, I read some notes he had when he was in the treatment program. And I'm sorry I read those things, but I'm always looking for answers. And he said in 3rd grade, one of the teachers would call him out. He was a great student, a good kid, he always followed the rules. But if he was smiling or laughing, she would send him out of the room and make him stay out of the room for a long period of time. And he felt singled out for no reason. He wrote that as one of his contributing factors of his fear of school, being called out and separated as a bad kid. So we talked to feel the sense of belonging, the connectedness, mentorship programs. I went to the websites of the county and the schools. There seems to be a lot of awesome programs for connecting kids in this area. I was very impressed. That Lighthouse program, I don't know if anyone from there is in here. Wow. If what they're doing can be replicated in schools, we wouldn't have this problem. All those kids felt connected, listened to, safe. Wow. I'm getting chills. I said to them, I have to find out where you guys train, how you hire your people. You should work in every school district. You have to be part of my class. I want you to teach what you're doing. Most influential school-related factors to predict high school graduation, according to research. Everyone always thinks it's the parents, but the research shows that it's mostly school factors. So the effect sizes for parent influences were generally small in this research study. Effect sizes for peer influences were generally small. These were the factors that influenced graduation. I feel like I know what I'm saying. Respectful interactions, students believing, the teacher believes in them, having agency. The school psychologist I speak to all the time says that when kids are having problems, I ask them what we should be doing differently. I want to hear from that child. Their opinion matters. What are we as adults doing? What can we do to make things better? What would school look like for you? Having agency and control about what's happening in your school and in your community. Obviously, the out-of-school programs, the extracurriculars, those are real great connectors. Any way to connect a kid to the school or anything is a key and a priority. The common issue that comes up when kids aren't attending school, as a punitive measure, they are not allowed to attend any extracurriculars. I feel that, and from what I hear, that if the kid has a connection to anything, They have a connection to their life. They're not stuck in their home. Let them connect. Use that connection as leverage to other things. There's something going on. Is it the safety of the team that makes that child want to be there? Is it excelling that makes them want to be there? Is it the coach? Use that power of whatever's going on, that extracurricular hobby, anything, and bring that into your school. Reintegration and re-engagement. I went over this. This is a school refusal assessment scale that helps determine the function, the cause. Usually the kids are looking for, they're avoiding negative situations, social evaluative, a negative affect, and either positive reward, separation, anxiety because they want to be, they don't want to leave their family, their parent, or seeking tangible reward, and like playing their games or the safety of their room. Setting your students up for success. Well, therapeutic intervention, obviously, a lot of these kids are dealing with emotional health issues that are undiagnosed. So we have to give the family the benefit of the doubt there. And if a child is not out of school for a long time, I would say that the school, ask if a psychological educational evaluation was done, psychiatric evaluation. That child deserves a chance to find out if something is going on. And also, this seems really controversial, even in what year are we in, 2023. Psychiatrists and medication. A lot of people are really scared of medication, and I'm not saying medicate each kid, but a child who is depressed and can't function, how is it helping that child? Not to try to give them anything that might help get them out of that funk. It will clear away some of the cobwebs and maybe allow the child to participate in re-engagement. So speak to your mental health providers, when the kids you're working with, the psychiatrists. The good thing is that sometimes these medications make a huge difference in these kids' lives, and they help them function. I'm not talking about anti-anxiety medications like Klonopin and Xanax. I'm talking about antidepressants like Prozac, I want to talk about meds, Zoloft and SSRIs, serotonin uptake receptor inhibitors, whatever. But they've been used for a long time. I know there are black box warnings because there have been situations of people ending their lives, but also that those black box warnings were protections. The pharmaceutical company had to put that down to protect themselves from liability and lawsuits. But if people are taking antidepressants, and not everyone's going to be helped, so unfortunately we do lose people even though they're on antidepressants. So I try to have people keep an open mind. I've suffered depression in my life. I've been on antidepressants my whole life, and look how happy I am. But and going through depression is unexplainable. It is a horrible feeling that you are losing control of your life and yourself. And if you have the hope of that helping you, wow, it's changed my life. And I hear it helping a lot of kids. The downside is that unfortunately medications don't work for every kid, and there are a lot of different medications, and you need to go to an experienced psychiatrist who understands severe anxiety to prescribe the effective medications. That is a problem, and there are kids who are refractory, meaning they don't respond to anything. That was unfortunately why my son had that, which is a horrible feeling that they don't respond to any medication. School connections, school resources. When a child is out of school, there has to be a point person. There has to be someone managing everyone around. The evaluations, the educational, psychological evaluations to see if there's learning disorder, learning difference, and mental health, and coordinating with all the people who are greeting that child the first entrance to school. If they're trying to reintegrate them, that has to be someone who's empathetic and understands. The attendance person, maybe when the child is getting back to school or trying, when they, I don't know if you know that, remember when you were in school, your kids, if you're late to school, you have to sign in and there's someone standing over you and watching you sign in. So that person should be trained effectively, not to say, oh, Johnny, where the hell have you been? It's so, glad to see you here. Or, not having any affect, nothing. Like when you go to a doctor's office and you check in, and the person checking you in is like rude or indifferent to you, and it makes you feel yucky about going to that doctor. Well, the doctor might be an awesome doctor, but the person greeting you sucks. And it affects how you feel about that doctor's office. That is how kids feel about school if someone isn't showing them respect. Reintegration is based on the theory of exposure therapy. First-line treatments for school avoidance, anxiety-based, or cognitive behavioral therapy with exposure therapy. Communication skills, obviously empathizing with the child and understanding and encouraging. These are things that work. Research shows, and we hear from families and kids, this makes the difference and helps them get back to their lives in school. Everyone needs a champion, as I said, and I was in one of the Lighthouse presentations, and they call them allies, which I like much better. The word champion, I've started to overuse it, so it's losing its meaning to me. Is it losing its meaning to you, or you see hidden power in it? Maybe because I see it all the time. But every kid needs a champion, someone they're connected to believe in them. The champion is not necessarily the person who is managing the case. It could be someone else who is their cheerleader along the way, someone who is texting them, not about school, just trying to reconnect in any which way. We'll talk about home visits in a minute as another way to reconnect. And another problem and challenge is that it can't be one and done. It can't be Susan, the champion, the connector, she'll reach out to John, once or twice. It's sustained, has to be sustained. I know it's not easy, but your hard work is going to change a life and a kid. You have to stick with it, because at first, it takes time to build relationships and trust, right? And you're fearful of people you don't know, so it takes sustainability and time. This is from an organization called ICANN in Australia. They support people with autism, and I brought this in because it's strengths-based, which Lighthouse presentation people also told me they have a strengths-based strength coach. I need to talk to that guy. Every school needs a strengths coach. I want one, please. But we cannot lose sight of these kids as individuals and humans with value and worth. So along with looking at all the data, the testing, and the problems with the child, let's look at all their strengths. Let's keep that up front and keep talking about that in our strategizing and our planning with our people involved with this child. School resources. I mentioned RTI, IEPs, and 504. That's educational and disability law. I said this in the previous presentation. Every child is entitled to free and appropriate public education, regardless of their disability. And emotional health issue is a disability. Sometimes people don't realize that, but yes, it is, and the law states that as well. So learning differences, half the young people indicated learning difficulties, concentration, understanding, inability to ask for help. That's huge. If you have anxiety and a learning difference, it is really hard to ask the teacher for help. ID in school avoidance. This is what the law says, Individuals with Disabilities Act, about what the qualifications for a child with, to qualify for an individualized education plan. Another thing I want to point out is that the IEPs, individualized education plans, come from the special education department. Special education, unless your parent is involved or you work in the school system or youth professionals, parents don't know that special education means it can help kids with emotional health disorders or learning differences, and it doesn't mean that the kid is going to a resource room or they're going to a separate area to learn. It is different, and when I started with this, with my child, and they told me I had to go to the special education program, and I did not understand. So, I don't know, do you think that the word special education has a different connotation where people might not understand what it means? Yeah. So I think that we need to educate families and everyone on that term, what it really means. Because if you see it on the website, and it's on every website for a school district, How do I know that's where I should be reaching out to help? If they can help my child, they don't know unless you tell them. It's almost like I go to websites, and I want to ask you about this, maybe you have an opinion about it. I always see Title I, okay, and information about, you know, how we help with Title I. Do parents know what Title I means? Should it say Title I? Should it say, you know, we're here to help you? Not, hey, we are mandated by the law because we're in a low-income area. This is the help we're going to do for you. It's all about the messaging, you know, and the transparency and sharing our help. It's wonderful, these programs, but let's present them and market them in a positive way and let people be aware of them.
Can I first say thank you for your vulnerability through all this?
Oh, that's so
sweet.
sweet.
And as a mom,
Aw.
that speaks to my heart. That's why I do good work, and I'm imagining that's why we all do.
That's so
But I wanted
sweet.
to point out when we talk about the connotations of words, that strikes me. The word refusal alone.
Yes.
We talk about school refusal of a kid and parent refusal of a service. If that is a single mom who is working 2 jobs to survive and says, I can't do this, or I did that service before, I don't want to do it, we say they refuse.
Oh my God, I've never heard that term.
We take the word refuse to mean they didn't want our help. They may not have wanted our help, but that may not be saying, I don't want help at all. That's saying, I don't trust the help you can give me. So when we talk about distrust of the system, a lot of times the distrust comes from simple words.
You're
Or
so
a
right.
key word,
Yeah.
especially in communities of color. We live in a different world and we have different experiences. So you may say refusal to me, and I as a professional can say, I know what you meant by school refusal. You may say professional, or you may say a professional to me, and I'm a parent, and from my parent brain, I'm saying, you said I refuse, I don't trust the service you're gonna give me, and I can find it on my own because I don't understand. Those are different meanings. So refusal is one of the words I wrote down. Strengths and needs. I like that we call it needs now, because when I started this career, we didn't say needs, we said weaknesses. That implies that that person is weak and doesn't want help. The words that we say, they matter, especially not just the words out of our mouth, but when we type that in a report, that's a lasting report that goes to court that determines the outcome of a school to prison pipeline that's not set up for students. And when we say they refuse, are they the problem? Because we said it in our words and our reports. They're not the problem, we are.
Those are huge. Those are a great point. I never heard that term, parent refusal. What kind of agency do you work for?
I work in system prevention for the Gold Center, but I came from child welfare before this, and
Is that where the word is used?
it's not
in child
even that it's
welfare?
necessary. It's a mindset where it's kind of like a caseworker thing where we're having conversations. I
You
can
say that?
you, the parent refuse services. What I'm really saying is that parent refuse services, but I may not be articulating why. And if I don't say why, then I'm telling the caseworker they don't want your help anyway. So that new caseworker is going to say they don't want my help. They don't care anyway. I'm not going to give my full effort to that. I'm not going
Oh
to
my
advocate
God,
for that.
oh my God, what another issue. I didn't even know about this issue.
I
Thank you for
couldn't
telling
say
me.
nothing. I had to speak up, so thank you for giving me permission. I'm not trying to crash up.
No, crash whenever you want. I love feedback. I learned something from you.
On that same note, and I think you're the one that said it in the training, was that the parents aren't necessarily refusing, but they don't have time.
I have 7 kids. If you offer me a service, I promise you I need help with my 7 kids. I don't have time for your services because I'm trying to figure it out for myself. I'm a good professional person. I have the resources. I have the knowledge to connect the people to the resources. That doesn't mean I want your service. Not because I don't want it. I need help, but I don't have time. But if you say that I refuse, I'm a person who's educated and articulated enough where I'm going to come for you. Every parent doesn't have that ability. They don't have that strength. And sometimes they have the strength, but they don't have the articulation. And they feel defeated before they can get to it. So God forbid that they don't advocate for themselves because they trusted us to do it.
But thank you so much for that. After I leave, I'm going to remember that word and type it into my phone because I have to start looking into that. Words are so powerful. That is so important. And you're right. When schools say the parent is not working with us, I say, what is your evidence? And I ask a million questions to get to that point. Also, parents, when they're dealing with a tornado of crap in their home or emotional problems with one child, and let alone raising family and making money, and life is stressful, we know. And then to say, wanting to connect them to a service which they might have tried, they might not understand, they might think you're trying just to get them off of your platter and connect to someone else. I find that all the time, hearing I want to connect them to resources, and sometimes it means I want to get them out of my caseload and I want to put them over here. So again, we can't assume that people understand what we're talking about. We have to think from their point of view. So, wow, thank you for teaching me that. Reasonable goals and benchmarks of progress. I put this in after speaking to Shad Slater. He's a diversion truancy officer, and he was kind enough to give me an hour on the phone and explain to me the mediation center, the truancy circle, and everything that you guys go through. And he was telling me that it's really hard to see success with kids who have truancy. It might be school avoidance also, or it might be truancy, and I get it, because he said it's a 60-day program. It's hard to build a relationship and reestablish all the information and come in when this could have been going on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and then all of a sudden magic is going to happen. So the time frame is short. So what has to be looked at and thought of in an IEP, there's something called the present levels of functioning. It's actually called the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance statement. They call it the PLOP. Do you guys know that term? Okay. They teach it in special education. I call it present levels. It describes a child's skills, abilities, and strengths and functioning at a specific level of time, because the individualized education plan is supposed to meet the child where they are at that point and give them what they need from that point. So when we're talking about truancy, when I was thinking about what I learned from Shad, I was saying your program and what you want to achieve is not the same for every kid. The program and what you want to achieve cannot dictate the intervention or what you're doing to help this kid. Every kid is at a different present level. So one kid that you might be trying to help will not leave his room. That is non-functioning. You might meet another child who is able to go to school, but is struggling every day, coming home crying, and is in risk of missing more days. But most likely his kids that you guys are dealing with are kids who've been out for many days. But some kids still can function. Some kids are able to do schoolwork or to participate in life. They are at a different level. And the kids who are not functioning are at a different level. So everything that was done from any program or that you're working with a child has to meet them where they are. And consider that in your goals. And you want to make sure that you're not setting them up for failure. If you have a child that is not functioning, not leaving the house, and you expect success to be able to get that kid to school in 60 days, magic is not going to happen. One of the goals might be, when I say to Shad, it'd be nice to have more reasonable, attainable goals in a short timeline. Attainable goals where you can make success as the person helping that child is finding out what's been going on with all the reporting, find out what was missed, find out what was tried, everything before you got to that point. And then sometimes we talk about exposure therapy. I think I'm talking about in this presentation. I'm doing 2 presentations. I lost my train of thought. I don't know which one I'm talking about. But getting the child to make steps towards society, towards school, it might not even affect, you might not even be working on getting the kid to school yet. You might have to work on getting them out of the house. That might be the first step. And that is success. If you can get the kid out of the house, wow.
To what you're saying and kind of what she said, I've worked with more families or more youth who have other barriers going on than those who want to lock themselves in their room and not go to school. But when I hear from school and it's I don't hear from you about anything else than the 10th absence, oh, now we're concerned, and I get a letter saying all these words that are kind of intimidating, that if they don't go to school, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, but no one's called me before this 10, 20-day mark to say, hey, what's going on, or we've noticed this, that, and the other. Then there's a problem. I see more families in Lincoln where this is the first place I've lived where all kids aren't provided busing.
Yeah, I was really surprised to hear that.
Yeah, and then
that's a major barrier.
Say, well, we have a public transportation. Yeah, but if you've ever taken it, I got lost on that, or the way that it's set up is not really functional. So there's other barriers, I think, that
Yes, you're right.
if there was somebody ahead of that noticed, also along the school lines of, my youngest, he's, if you want some patience, I'll deliver him to you. But he is one that struggles a little bit in school. He has an IEP and things like that. And my biggest issue was, don't just call me when things are bad. You want to call me and when he's suspended, or if you haven't followed this plan, or you haven't done things. But parents go into these IEP meetings, the setup is intimidating.
Yes,
I come to the boardroom.
Yes.
All these people are set up. You're telling me what you're going to do,
Exactly.
what it looks like, and then you're like, at the end, any questions for us? When you can drive that meeting and say, look, like I told them, he has trouble. He's overwhelmed in the lunch line. Somebody's gonna get hit. He doesn't have the processing to say this person bumped into this person, and that's why this person bumped into me. No, he's gonna hit the person behind him because he's impulsive like that. So can we, I don't want him in the line, because I'm noticing 3 to 4 times out of the week, you're calling me, he's suspended or in school because the lunch line.
What a simple situation to fix.
Yeah, so what do we do about the lunch line? But parents aren't knowing that they navigate that world either, and then you get in there and they're saying all these things to you, and you think you have to agree or you can't change it, and that's not the case. So like she said, it's about words. I've been in meetings too where they're like, but what are some of his weaknesses? Well, I don't think he has weaknesses. I think he has things he can improve. Yeah, but we all do. Like I've been in some where they talk about him like the teachers know him personally, like on a personal, and I've been in some where he's literally,
like a report.
Yeah, it's just a report. We're just gonna go over, like, bring it home for me, and then they get mad at me because I'm that parent that's like, where's so and so? I don't hear from you ever. Don't call me. Give me this person to call me. I'm big on relationships. My kids are too. So if you don't develop that like early on with me, I don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from the people who have that relationship with him. So I think it goes back to a lot of what she's saying, the words that you're using. And like she said, yeah, I have a life. I have 6 or 7 kids. I have things that are going on. It's not that I don't know the resources. I can obtain them or do what I need to do, but I don't need, we have this thing where, oh, they refused this case manager. Let's try this. How all this stuff, and it makes it look like I'm obligated to participate in this because of the truancy or them not going to school. I personally am not a fan of the truancy thing here. I think there's a lot of politics and money behind it, realistically. And it's like there's no help for you. No one gets involved until the 20-day mark. Like there's nothing, maybe like you said, maybe they got homeless. Maybe there's a domestic violence where this person is trying to there's a whole bunch of factors before I get referred to the county attorney, and then I'm getting these letters from the school telling me all this stuff. So I'm stressing about that too. So I don't know. It's all
everything you said I can relate to. I know that feeling of being intimidated, and it's interesting when you read the parental parents' rights, and every child has a right to appropriate public education. They say the parent is an equal member of the IEP team, but we're most likely not treated that way. Because, well, first of all, we don't know we have that power, and we don't know the laws like they do. So we are coming in from behind the 8 ball. So I hear what you're saying, and I empathize with you. And I don't have this presentation, but I don't think I could put it in, but every absence equals response. So every time, like, your child, if they were out after 5 times or 3 times, a kind call or text should have been made of concern, not about, he missed the exam, now we're pissed, or, what the F. Concern, right? Absence equals response, but a kind, empathetic response, not a judging response.
Can I just add, if we know that at system points, things don't always work well, and we know that the juvenile justice system has these system points that don't work well, and we have the school system that doesn't always work well, and it's a school-to-prison pipeline, we all agree. The school-to-prison pipeline is not just for the student. The parent is conditioned for the school-to-prison pipeline. And sweetheart, the reason you feeling the way you do is because they condition coordination of parents to get prepared for the school to prison pipeline. IEP meetings are set up just like the court system. You are the parents, you're sitting there being attacked, even if you know you need help.
And it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a helpful situation.
So these are system issues, and when the systems alone have issues and you integrate systems together, we're supposed to trust the systems. We don't trust them individually, let alone to work together. We are the professionals saying we don't trust it. And I can tell you one thing, as a parent of 7 kids, let one of them school districts mess with my babies and I'm educated and I still have issues.
Of course.
If I have issues, parents I can't advocate.
Of course.
So the words matter because the words indicate what our mindsets are. And our mindset comes from our speech. And when we say this to one worker, regardless of their capacity of how they're serving, we say that to one worker and they interpret it one way, and then they give it to another worker and they interpret it another way. It's like the telephone game we all played when we were kids. I tell you, you tell her, by the time you get to you, it's a totally different message. So we're not even doing due diligence to have a conversation with somebody to say, what is your issue? We're assuming we know their issues and writing it on paper and then telling everybody else, and it's not even the correct narrative. So when that family says, I don't want to work with you, we blame the family. They may have legit issues that they need to work on, and I'm not excusing that, because people got problems that they need to fix. But we go in also thinking we're fixing the problem, we're making the problem worse, literally. And we'll show the data of it, but don't want to accept we are the issue. And we'll accept we are the issue, but how? Simple things like our speech.
Everything you're saying is valid, and it's all about advocacy and speaking up and educating people. And I understand it's hard to change things, but someone's got to stick up and be the champion of trying to change something or make an improvement.
You created a safe place for us to do it today is the change we need. It's
Oh,
not just outside
really?
of here.
That's so nice.
Seriously, when do we get to actually say how we feel? We're the boots on the ground and we learn the information, but in every session, we don't get to speak freely about how we internalize it. But we're producing the numbers for it, but we can't even have honest conversations with each other about what that looks like.
Some schools have parent liaisons that are trained, and that is a great position when schools have them and they're trained correctly, because every parent needs an advocate to explain what's going on and to be on their side. You had your hand up?
Yeah, so one, I wanted to see if you could give us like an update on how you got your son through it and how he's doing now. And then also if your son has contributed to like this effort and this training to like really put his voice into what he needed and what he didn't get and how you helped him through that.
That is a very good question. I'm going to try to tell you really quickly what happened. And my story is long. I have to encapsulate it really quickly. And it's been like 12 years now. He's now 26 and lives a normal life. And he's not living in my basement, and he makes his own living, and he's off my health insurance. I mean, that is just like, that is a gift from God, the universe, every day of my life. But a lot of parents go through similar things in terms of how difficult they are. My story with my son and what helped him was I was determined I would not give up on my child. I never, no matter how much I was crying and breaking down, I didn't give up hope. Now, I have to pat myself on the back on one hand because I spent hours and hours on the internet back then when and parents do this now, so I guess I shouldn't pat myself on the back. Because you're desperate for answers. So I was reading case law and finding out why the school doesn't understand what's going on. Are there other parents going through what I'm going through? It was so hard to find. And now, even in 2023, there is a lot of information on school avoidance, school refusal online, but it's not for the cases like the difficult cases. It's all the perfunctory, easy entry-level cases. It's not digging deep into the problem of the system, special education disability, law, engagement. That's why we exist. So my son, I got lucky because I had really good health insurance. So that, again, praise be my husband's employer at the time, because he doesn't work for them anymore, and if I was going through this now, I couldn't afford it, any of that stuff, because he had to go to a treatment program that I think back in 2000, not over a year, it was like 2012, 11. The treatment program for 60 days was like $45,000, and my insurance company paid for almost all of it. It's really hard to do, and I even thought that they would pay like my copay, my $2,500 copay. But that is part of the problem. The mental health system sucks, and again, it's the haves and the have-nots. So I like when I hear about all the programs here going on and all the people who care, awareness, trying to help people and get them the appropriate help. So I did have the right people behind me. That I don't know if you remember my first presentation, I showed this psychiatrist, child psychiatrist. Finding him saved my life and my son's, because he named the problem and he was accessible to me. I was able to text him when I was flipping out, and he guided me along the way. And he's the one who said you have to bring him to an acute hospitalization because he's not functioning. You need to reset. And then when it happened again, and like a few years later, and he had to go to another treatment program, I knew what to look for, and I was able to find him the appropriate help, and I had the right insurance. That's number one. That program also, the experts there knew that my son could not go back home. Now, this was a scary thing as a parent. All along, I knew that my son, the tangible rewards, his room became his cocoon. That bed was a safety. That was his unit. He could have existed there forever. And I know the psychiatrist started telling me like a few years earlier that, you know, he might have to go to like a boarding school, you know. And I was like, no way, my kid leave the house. But I was lucky again. These are lucky breaks that I had, that I knew my son could live somewhere else and thrive, because he went to sleepaway camp for 7 weeks out of the year since he was 6 years old. So I knew he could function without me. So that was my saving grace, that I wasn't scared shitless to send him there. Because the treatment program, they said he really should go to a residential school, boarding school. He went to a therapeutic boarding school. My school district was always my adversary. The relationship became so acrimonious because they didn't understand school avoidance, and the special education director told me that she didn't understand anxiety. Now, I don't know how the hell you have someone who's a special education director who doesn't understand anxiety. I'd like to know if she understands anxiety now in 2023. Another person, are you going to help for? So they didn't understand. And they were fighting me and fighting me. They didn't want to give him an IEP, just an IEP to help him, because he has issues with school and learning issues that didn't show up on the testing, unfortunately. But he had a diagnosed social anxiety and mental health disorder. So he qualified. In my last presentation, I don't know if you saw that she disputed it and said he didn't qualify because he going to the acute hospitalization was a one-off. So he was denied an IEP, special education services. So I read up on the law myself. I couldn't help myself. I found an educational advocate. He came with me to school and tried to help me, and he got in a fight with them. He was so frustrated with the school district. They almost got in a physical fight. Then I had to hire a special education attorney. And again, the haves and the have-nots. At that time, I was able to afford a special education attorney. And even if I couldn't, I would have taken a second mortgage. I would have done anything in my power to help my kid. And unfortunately, a lot of parents going through this are doing the same thing. They're exhausting all their financial reserves to pay for mental health treatment or guidance from a special education attorney. She took on her case and was like, I cannot believe they've denied this for so long. And we went under due process with them. And it was a struggle fighting the school district because they have mountains of money and the attorneys, and I'm exhausting my resources every hour I'm on the phone and fighting it. And there were times where she was telling me, the attorney, you know, we might want to stop there. And for some reason, something told me, it said, I'm not freaking giving up. I'm going after them, and if I have to lose another $1,000 or whatever, I'm going to try it. And they settled with us. And my settlements, again, I'm going to cry because thank God that they had to pay for his education, because educational and disability law proved that he could not access his education because of his mental health issues. and they couldn't solve it or help them access it, so they had to pay. So they had to pay for a therapeutic boarding school. You know how much a therapeutic boarding school costs? Yes, I'm just curious. Yeah, $100,000+. And they didn't even pay for everything. They didn't pay for the residential piece, like the boarding, we had to pay for it. But they paid $85,000. And so again, thank you to the universe, you know, that happened. Therapeutic boarding school. Then he was the best kid at the therapeutic boarding school because a lot of the kids were there for behavioral issues. Again, another problem with the therapeutic boarding schools is it's mixed populations, you know, and it's really hard. That was a freaking scary thing, bringing your kid to a therapeutic boarding school. Even after the acute hospitalization and the treatment program in Wisconsin he went to, it's a horrible situation. They have to earn their privileges to, you know, checking in, to have privileges to like leave campus and do this and that. But thank God the kid thrived there because he had a mentor, an individual person who was his person, who cared for him. He had teachers there who cared for him and worked hard with him one-on-one. He actually qualified for the National Honor Society through when he was at that school district, just for like 9 months or whatever. And again, another point of like tears, you know, that he did that after all the crap he went through, you know. After that, he was like, you know, he's ready to go on. And I was lucky enough again to find through people I know, a regular, not a therapeutic, a regular boarding school, a small boarding school in New York. We looked at a few, and we found the school. We had 120 kids. I'll give them credence in some of the video. It's the Darrow School in New York, in New Lebanon, New York, which borders Massachusetts. It's like a 3 or 4 hour drive. It's built in a Shaker community in beautiful old homes. And again, that environment, small environment, mentors, structured environment, helping him with his schoolwork every night, like 3 days a week. They would do the work with them and caring about them, and a community of kids. I'm thankful he was able, his last 2 years of high school, he had a positive experience. And again, I'm thankful that he had 2 years of schooling that he enjoyed and thrived. So he graduated high school. Thank you very much. Thank you. I mean, again, the tears on that day of graduation, you know. But I was fortunate. I had lucky breaks. I had people who helped me, the psychiatrist, that attorney who taught me everything and stood by me. And my husband agreed with me because another problem is parents often disagree. We fought at the beginning a lot. After 4 years of hell, we were on the same page about, you know, spending the money to figure this out, to get them the help he needed. But again, it gets me really upset that what I achieved cannot be achieved by other people because they were not associated with the right resources. So that's my story. I'm sorry it took so long. And thank you for asking me about it because it's a painful story. And a lot of the parents I speak to, we have this peer-to-peer support group that we do. The parents are crying like I am now, every week. And the issues are because the kid is breaking down at home, they're struggling with anxiety, and the school district, most of the problems of the school district doesn't get it. And they're persecuting and prosecuting them and threatening them, and they're not helping them. And it's even harder now than when we were there 10 whatever years ago, because now the schools, everyone's in a mental health crisis. So, and all the resources, and schools are understaffed, and they're overwhelmed. So they can't give everyone an IEP. When they hear that someone else wants an evaluation, that's scary. That's time, a lot of time. So I don't know what would have happened to him today if he was going through that. So the answer is, for parents to have success, is to not give up. Find someone who believes you. Find support. We have a community of parents who talk, and they say to me sometimes, you know, I'm so grateful to know that other people are dealing with this, just to talk about it and to cry to people and then understand what I'm going through. Thank you. And you teach them their rights. Their right to a free and appropriate public education. It's very important. And that's why we created professional development for schools, and we want schools to learn about it So these families that we talk to every day are getting the help, and they're not crying because not only kids breaking down, but the school doesn't get it, and they're treating them beautifully. So I forgot where I was, but it's okay, it was worth it talking to you, thank you. I was saying that meet them where they are. You know, it's not realistic. You have to have reasonable goals. Accommodations and modifications. What time is it? How many minutes do I have? I'm done? Why do you always stop me? You guys are so nice. You let me tell my whole story. Okay, I'm not going to finish, but I just can't thank you enough. And I'm so thankful to Sarah Hoyle for bringing me here and introducing me to you guys, because speaking to people involved with truancy and juvenile justice is a huge goal and mission part of our organization to get to you all and out the country. And meeting all of you people who are so dedicated to kids, I thank you. It's another one of my, I'm blessing you all the way.